Unless you have taunt.
But he has a move that literally forces you to attack him. But he's not very viable in like competitive games. This character is kind of like a really good version of him. He has a buff. He has a self buff that deals damage. It's an AoE nuke. He has a thing that purges debuffs from you, and it buffs you in some way. I forget what it is, but it sounds incredible on like your carry. You toss that on your carry in a team fight.
It's also interesting because I wonder what's going to happen to Axe.
Yeah,
because if it's basically it's a better Axe, then
well, then again, they did buff Axe in this patch. We'll get onto that later. His ultimate is pretty much like a single taunt. He taunts somebody, and it forces that person and him to attack each other, and just not do anything but attack each other. But he has a passive that lets him tank, because every time you attack him, there's a chance that he'll counterattack and heal for the damage he deals. So he pretty much tanks if people are attacking him.
Which is what you're going to be making people do.
Exactly, which is what you're going to be making people do. So what he does is he seems to buff people in team fights and take somebody out in the team fight. Pretty much guaranteed. And the last character is the Goblin Shredder, and he's based around trees. Pretty much all his moves deal more damage if there's trees around when he uses them, and one of his moves grapples him to a tree. He seems like a really interesting initiator slash nuker slash tank, because his passive ability is the more times he gets hit, the more armor he gets. So you want to be nuking him down, you want to be spike damaging him, you can't really DPS him because he'll just get more and more armor.
You might even want to destroy the trees.
Yeah, exactly. You might actually want to destroy the trees before he does, because his first ability does magic damage, but if it kills a tree while it's doing it, it does true damage. So it'll really screw you up if he's around trees. And for items, they had a bunch of really weird items in my opinion. One of them was pretty well needed. It's a combination of is it Void Talisman or Wrathband? Wrathband. Yeah, it's Wraithband and Ring of Basilius, and it literally just combines them. Like there's no extra stats. I don't think. I think they're literally just
become a single.
They just become a single item, which is
necessary.
Great. Which is good because a lot of people get Ring of Basilius, but Ring of Basilius only combines into Vladimir's offering, and the people that want to get Ring of Basilius don't necessarily want to get Vladimir's, so that's a good alternative for them. The other items are really weird items. One of them is an upgrade to Basher, which is it's kind of like the strength carries version, the strength carries endgame item, because it gives strength and it gives the Basher, and I believe it also gives disarm. Disarm is really popular in this patch for some reason. 2 items give disarm. Then there's a Rod of Atos. Or they're just gonna call it Rod. Fuck that. Fuck names. It slows. Yeah, it cripples. It seems like if you want some extra health and some intelligence and a slow, but there are other intelligence items.
Probably not a better in-slot than like Yule's or
exactly.
Sheepstick. Like
there are better intelligence items that disable than just a slow. There's the Hex, which is both a slow and a disable and a silence and a crazy bunch of everything. And there's Yule's, which can be used both offensively and defensively. So that might not be the best pickup, but I guess if you're looking for some extra health and you need a disable, it might be viable. Yeah, so. and it is cheaper, so it might be viable. But that's pretty much it. If you want to see more details on there's a ton of changes. Oh wait, no. One thing I want to talk about is they did, as we were saying, they did buff Axe, who needed a buff heavily. I think they pretty much just buffed him everywhere. They buffed the damage on counter Helix, and they made it so that the more people that are affected by Battle Hunger, his dot, the more movement speed he gets, so I guess that'll help him with his initiating.
I mean,
and when he kills someone with Culling Blade, he shouts and buffs movement speed around him, so it gives him a little bit more support.
Right. I mean, I think Legionnaire was still better. Like giving him a charge was still a much bigger buff because it gives him a form of initiation without Blink Dagger.
In Heroes and New Earth, they removed Battle Hunger and gave him a charge, which I think was a good idea because it pretty much is better in every single way. It gives him a movement ability, gives him a debuff.
Battle Hunger is really too situational.
Battle Hunger is really good early game, just because like any dot is good early game. But besides that, it doesn't necessarily fulfill its role. So that's pretty much it for Dota 1. If you guys want, as I said, if you want to see more, it's in the description. You happen to be the specialist when it comes to Heroes of New Earth, compared to me. So our next game is going to be Heroes of New Earth. So I heard there was a new hero release.
Yep.
Artesia?
They just came out with Artesia. She's like a magic-based range intelligence nuker. She doesn't have much in the ways of versatility.
Yeah.
She her Q is just a single target, not like target on a hero, but it's target area.
It's point target. Yeah.
Yet It deals 220 damage max. It's pretty spammable because it has a pretty low cooldown.
Yeah, it does.
And it 15% movement speed slow on contact. It also homes in on targets. It'll curve to home in.
Yeah.
The downside of that being that
it can sometimes miss.
Right. It'll miss close range targets because it'll go around them to hit them and then not. It's a good ability, but its mana cost is way too high for its spam ability. It's like 150, and her base mana pool is not very large. She has a large int gain, but it doesn't really compensate for it.
Okay.
Her second ability is Dance of Death. She spins around,
Woo! Yeah, spins.
And releases Arcane Bolts every 0.7 seconds.
Which home in on nearby enemies.
Which home in on nearby enemies and deal a very small amount of damage.
700 range, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a very small amount of damage. The whole thing, the point of it is to add up. That's what her third ability is.
Yeah.
That released on cast.
It's a passive.
Yep.
Okay.
And it heals her for flat 60 plus 25% of her intelligence. As she spins.
Oh, as she spins. Okay.
And,
I thought you were talking about the orbs.
No. It's like a Dance of Death. And it also builds up charges on her Q.
Yeah.
Which reduces the cooldown by 75%, and that's each charge is an arcane missile.
Okay,
reduced by 75%.
Okay, so you
So
get like 4
it gives you
or 5.
like 4 of very quick casts.
Okay, sweet. But then again,
mana
it has
issues.
mana issues because they cost a lot of mana.
Just because you have the opportunity to pull it all,
doesn't necessarily mean
you
you'll have the mana.
Right. Until very late gamer, unless
I
you go
hear
that
ya.
way. And her fourth ability, her ult, places like a ward, which, as I found out recently, doesn't count as a unit.
It can't creep block.
It can't creep block.
Like Venomancer's
Because I was thinking
wards.
about like blocking people in, it could be cool.
That would be really cool.
People just
I always love that.
Yeah, people pad through it. It's
That sucks.
max level. It's killed by 5 hits. Doesn't have health. It's just 5 hits.
It's just 5 hits. Okay.
Magic immune. It will mimic the casting of your spell, your one spell, Arcane Missile, and it'll also proc Arcane Bolts, little homing in bolts.
Question: if you Dance of Death, does it get?
No. It
doesn't get the bonus shot, the bonus little orbs.
It'll only get them on cast. I think what it seems to do.
When
What
you
it seems
Dance
to
of
do
Death,
is,
doesn't count.
right, it produces them. But what it seems to do is it almost saves them. Like it saves the Arcane Bolts, and then when you cast, it releases because her third ability has like a counter on it. Every time you cast, it like shows you the amount of wisps that are going to be produced by the cast. So like, I think it ticks up to 4 or something. It's weird.
So it ticks up, and then once you get to the maximum, it releases them?
No. I don't really know how it works. It's not really elaborated. It's not really made clear. But
well, she is kind of an unfinished hero.
She doesn't seem to be very finished. But her ult will produce Arcane Bolts when you Magic Missile.
Okay.
Which is what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so you're going to be doing that all the time.
And it's global placement. Anywhere.
So you can snipe people.
Yep.
Okay.
Or you can use it in a fight to, at max level, effectively damage your output.
Double damage your output.
And it gives HP and mana regen to yourself.
So it's like a good support.
Right, but it's also kind of negligible. Late game, it won't do much, and a lot of your kills will be long range, so you won't even get experience for them. So it's a very high possibility that unless you take a solo lane, you'll be under leveled.
I see. Yeah.
And if you're level 11 and your team's level 16, the regen you get from your ult is not going to
help them much.
It's not really going to matter.
I hear you.
So that kind of needs to be worked on a little bit. She also she's fun to play. I have a lot of fun with her, but she has no place really in
competitive. She doesn't fit the meta, kind of like the Herald.
Because everyone else that's the same role does it better. You know, Torturer, Pyromancer, they all hardcore nukers. They even have carry potential, and she just doesn't.
And it seems
have that.
It seems like you're not a very good hero in Heroes of New Earth unless you have a blink. Or a semi-blink.
And like a hard disable, like a hex or a stun. Not slow doesn't really.
So she doesn't. She has like a slow and no movement ability. So, do you think PK is like required?
I would definitely go Tablet of Command.
Tablet of Command, okay.
Because you can definitely use the stats for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of farming on her isn't really viable because unless you blow all your mana Arcane Missile.
Okay, so you just want to be killing people. You don't necessarily want to be. So would you say she's what role? Like, would you say she's like a ganker or
I say take her mid solo, take her top solo or bot solo depending on what side you're on if you have a jungler. Because she needs those levels. She needs the free farm. She needs the gold for sure. And she can. Her slow, while not good for her necessarily, because she doesn't have a movement speed or a movement ability, her slow is good for coming in behind people, and your team will get them.
I got you. And she's like a ganker slash
she's
nuker.
like a nuker ganker, and you can just because you can get those. You can slow them before they even see you there. It's like 1200 cast range.
Yeah.
You can get that slow on them before you get there.
Okay.
So that's good, but she definitely needs more work if she's going to fit into the game at all in place of other heroes.
Well. And there's been a couple items released, not super recently, but recently for
like
me.
2 patches ago.
Grave Locket,
and Genjuro.
And Genjuro.
What Grave Locket does is
There you go.
it's an upgrade from Talisman of Exile, which almost every support will have. This is like a core support item. I think it's like 425 gold upgrade, and it gives you +4 to all stats and +7 to intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And on kill or assist, like a one-time thing, it doesn't stack.
Yeah.
But on kill or assist, it gives you another 3 stats to all of those.
Okay.
So that'll bring you to like 7.
Okay, so as long as you're doing well, you'll have bonus stats.
Right, as long as you're there doing your job.
Yeah.
Like assist
and if you die, those bonus stats go away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Until you charge again.
Okay.
And it also reduces your death timer by 10 seconds.
Okay.
So when you
That's
die,
good.
you get back in the action a little bit faster, which
That's
can,
good, yeah.
You know, which
especially
can be,
early game, when literally it could be 10 seconds.
And you could actually be back instantly. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's a big thing.
Easy
so it's definitely a core pickup.
Okay, cool,
on,
cool.
most support. You probably sell it later, but.
And Genjuro is an upgraded on Assassin's Shroud.
Yep.
And it's the most expensive game in Han currently.
Expensive game.
Expensive item.
Most expensive item in Han. Even more expensive than Doombringer, which Doombringer's
Doombringer's